The internet is in utter upheaval right now, with murmurs turning into screams. Was Kirk Frost poisoned? According to disturbing new revelations from a very private medical source, Kirk's unexplained ailment was anything but natural. However, it was purposeful. That's right. Physicians allegedly found signs of a rare, slow-acting poison in his system. The twist is that they believe it was caused by anything other than food or medicine. They think it originated from someone close to him. Fans are astonished. People who have been following Kirk and Rasheeda for years are now rewatching old material, scrutinizing interviews, and looking for hints they may have missed. Because if this is true, if someone really wanted Kirk gone, the issue is who had the motive, and perhaps more unsettling, how long have they planned this? Emotions are running wild. Some are throwing fingers at previous loves. Others are looking at business rivals. Some are even wondering the unthinkable. Was Rasheeda involved? In this video, we go over the entire timeline, the hospital bombshell, fan reactions, and scary revelations that might change all we thought we knew about Kirk and his close circle. Brace yourselves. This isn't just drama. This is the worst kind of treachery possible. It all started with an eerie stillness that spread across Kirk Frost's normally lively internet presence. The man who was usually posting and attending activities departed without a trace. No public appearances, no Instagram posts, nothing. Fans started asking inquiries almost immediately. Where is Kirk? Is everything okay? People figured it was just one of those celebrity getaways from the limelight. However, things did not feel right. Rasheeda, who generally overshares every moment with her followers, only shared one story and photograph of a darkly lit hospital corridor with the comment, "Pray." That one word sent shockwaves across the fan base. A day later, a fuzzy snapshot began circulating online. Someone, most likely a hospital employee, had shared a photo of Kirk being hurried into a medical room, eyes closed, body lifeless, surrounded by nurses. The internet erupted. Blogs grabbed it up right away. Fans were astonished. Rumors began to circulate in the comments section, with some believing it was a heart attack and others speculating on a stroke. However, no one could have predicted what happened next. A blogger notorious for disclosing celebrity insider information revealed a surprise. According to an unnamed nurse, Kirk had been poisoned, not only fallen. The poison was not something you find in a usual overdose. It was something slow, unusual, and deliberate. The nurse's disclosure indicated that physicians had identified traces of a deadly chemical in Kirk's blood, indicating purposeful poisoning. Not something you'd eat by accident, but rather something introduced gradually. According to the site, physicians were surprised by the quantities in his system, and internal testing verified it wasn't food poisoning or any recreational drug. Ethylene glycol was a very specific chemical that is commonly used in antifreeze. It's lethal, odorless, and has a sweet flavor that may easily go missed in a drink or food. The consequences were terrifying. Social media burst into anarchy. Fans were heartbroken and enraged. Hashtag pray for Kirk, hashtag Kirk Frost poison, and hashtag what it this began trending on Twitter. People sought explanations, and strangely, Rasheeda maintained the loudest quiet. She didn't post anything for 2 days following the photo release, and then broke her quiet with a cryptic message. "This is a difficult time. Please grant us privacy." The comment area underneath the post became a war. Some supporters offered their support. Others demanded the truth. However, several others directly accused her. One comment read, "Why is it so quiet? You always post everything. Now that your man is dying, are you merely asking for privacy? It sounds off." Others were not as nice. What sparked suspicion was Kirk's cousin, Malik, who wrote and erased a strange Facebook status late at night. In the article, Malik stated, "You attempt to warn someone that not everyone beaming in their face is a buddy. However, occasionally the poison is delivered with a kiss." Fans screenshotted the message before he could erase it, and it quickly spread throughout social media sites. People started to wonder, was Malik pointing fingers? Was there any suspicion among the family? The drama heightened as another element of the enigma was revealed. Tony, Kirk's longtime business partner, conducted an accidental Instagram live. Tony, very distraught, stated, "Kirk was like a brother. We built so much together. And yes, he was going through a lot, but I never imagined somebody would want to take him out like this." He hesitated and said something scary. About a week ago, he mentioned feeling watched. He said he'd been ill for weeks and suspected someone had tainted his meals. These words spread like wildfire. Fans were shocked. Kirk felt something was awry. Nobody listened. Even more worrisome was the fact that Kirk allegedly informed a buddy that he intended to amend his will. Someone close to the family revealed that Kirk had discussed cutting someone out of his estate. The leak did not name identities, but speculation skyrocketed. Fans began piecing together a hazardous puzzle, wondering who had a purpose, who would gain from Kirk's downfall. All eyes moved to the one person who hadn't spoken much, Rasheeda. As individuals delved further into their recent history, they discovered something strange. Kirk and Rasheeda have appeared less and less together during the last 2 months. No date evenings, no collaborative business promotions, nothing. Instead, Rasheeda has been promoting her solo activities, new sponsorships, and a new relaunch under her own name. Was it a coincidence? Was she prepared for a future without Kirk? Then came the voice note. A lady named Tasha, who claimed to be Rasheeda's former assistant, submitted a message to a famous gossip page. In the message, she stated, "I was with them for over a year. There were continual conflicts. Kirk was considering walking away from everything. He told me he wanted out of the show, out of the spotlight, and was preparing to relocate to Miami. However, Rasheeda was opposed to it. She explained that he couldn't simply leave when they had brand deals lined up. I once heard her shout that if he went, she would be wrecked." When questioned if she suspected Rasheeda had anything to do with the poisoning, Tasha refused to say. However, her hesitancy spoke volumes. Soon later, an unnamed former employee from one of their firms came forward, stating Kirk had complained of feeling off for weeks before to his fall. He stated that every time he ate at home, he felt nauseous afterwards. He joked that maybe his wife was attempting to murder him. That statement, once made in fun, has taken on a sinister connotation now. The internet seized upon it. Bloggers turned it into a headline. Podcasts provided detailed chronology breakdowns. Fans were no longer apprehensive. They were persuaded. Something was clearly incorrect. One of Kirk's closest childhood buddies finally came out in an emotional live video. In tears, he stated, Kirk was too smart to fall for anything arbitrary. If he was poisoned, it was likely done by someone who understood his routine. Someone had daily access to him. The implication was clear. And once again, the comment sections burst with a single name, Rasheeda. However, just as the strain was building, another twist was introduced into the plot. A hospital source revealed that Kirk had temporarily recovered consciousness. It wasn't a complete recovery, but he had opened his eyes and said a few words. The source stated that his first words were, "Who did this?" He fell unconscious again. The room allegedly became quiet. The family stood in amazement. The medical personnel raced in. But those three statements sparked a maelstrom like none before. If Kirk actually felt he had been attacked, he would inquire, "Who did this?" Then it wasn't simply paranoia. It was genuine. Fans now demanded justice. They sought answers. They wanted someone held accountable. However, the biggest shock was still to come. The phrases, "Who did this?" reverberated through the hospital halls like a curse. Those standing by Kirk's bedside froze, unable to comprehend what had just been uttered. According to a witness, Rasheeda burst into tears right away. Some claimed it was out of fear. Others claimed it resembled guilt. Regardless of the facts, the timing of those statements could not have been more incendiary. Kirk had spoken after being comatose for over 4 days, and the first thing on his thoughts wasn't agony or uncertainty, but treachery. The type that comes from being injured by someone close to you. The medical personnel reportedly locked Kirk's room after that. Except for direct family members, visitation are limited to one at a time. Rasheeda was the first to be allowed back in. According to insiders, the encounter did not go as she had imagined. According to an unnamed nurse, Kirk grew clearly irritated when Rasheeda entered the room. He attempted to sit up, yanking at cables, his heart rate rising. The nurse claimed she heard him say something like "get her out," but the words were garbled. Rasheeda was swiftly led out, her face pallid and shivering. The narrative did not stay within the hospital's gates for long. Someone released the nurse's account, and fans were no longer simply speculating. They were positive Rasheeda was involved. The story took a worse turn. Videos filled TikTok and YouTube, each one analyzing every movement, phrase, and moment leading up to Kirk's hospitalization. Creators used archival video from Love and Hip Hop to highlight occasions when Rasheeda appeared distant or angry. A footage appeared in which Kirk accused her of holding grudges for too long, and viewers are now treating it like a mystery. The strain on Rasheeda was terrible. She attempted damage management by broadcasting a video of herself sitting in a candlelit room, eyes puffy and voice trembling. "Y'all don't know what we're going through," she insisted. "Kirk is my husband. I love him. I'd never do anything to injure him." But the remarks were not nice. People termed it crocodile tears. They stated the footage appeared planned and scripted. One remark that went viral read, "She crying like someone trying to win an Oscar." Others noted that there was no mention of the poisoning or the rumors, only a vague call for peace. However, when the cops intervened, the scene became much more tense. According to local media, physicians were legally obligated to disclose the poisoning if the test results revealed foul play. That signified that investigators were formally investigating Kirk's case. While no identities were released, news rapidly spread that investigators were interviewing family members. Kirk's oldest son was the first to enter the station. He apparently spent more than 2 hours inside. When he came out, he dodged reporters and declined to remark. Then came the largest spill ever. A family member who preferred to remain anonymous told a blog that Kirk had confided in them weeks before the event. He had planned to meet with a lawyer to amend his will. Not only that, but he reportedly advised his pal, "If anything happens to me, don't trust the people closest to me." The comment went viral in minutes. It was picked up by many news outlets. Podcasts aired emergency episodes. What about Rasheeda? She stopped posting totally. While fans were pointing fingers, another name quietly entered the conversation, one that had not been discussed previously. Tamika is Kirk's niece. She'd always been close to him, frequently handling behind-the-scenes operations for his firms. However, some individuals began connecting dots that didn't quite add up. Tamika was observed entering the hospital late at night, far after visiting hours. When workers asked her to leave, she apparently became belligerent. A nurse said she yelled, "He needs to tell me where he hid the damn papers." Security was summoned, and she was removed. This event made supporters wonder, was it all about money? Could Kirk's near-death experience be related to internal estate disputes? His music repertoire, real estate assets, and economic ventures were not insignificant. Rumors circulated that some persons had been shut out of future transactions following Kirk's recent conflicts with them, and the timing of everything began to appear too convenient, too strategic. As the inquiry progressed, Kirk went in and out of consciousness. He apparently had glimpses of insight, but was not good enough to make a full remark. While investigators waited for his testimony, they gathered evidence. One important lead came from a delivery receipt discovered in the Frost household's kitchen garbage. The receipt indicated an internet transaction for a complex cleaning solution containing the same chemical detected in Kirk's system. It was signed for by someone with access to the house, but the name was smudged, and the box arrived weeks before Kirk's fall. Once that information emerged, followers went into full detective mode. They looked up photographs of the kitchen, examined the surfaces, and searched old movies for cleaning goods seen in the backdrop. It became a digital crime scene. The unifying denominator in all of this mayhem stayed the same: Rasheeda. Whether fair or not, she was the one whom the public had determined was guilty until proven innocent. However, Rasheeda was not the only one being investigated. Kirk's brother Dion unexpectedly shared a strange video from outside the hospital. In it, he remarked, "Snakes move silently. You believe you know your own, but then they reveal who they truly are." That was all he said. There are no names, no explanations. However, fans seized it and ran. Theories exploded. Some thought it was about Rasheeda. Others felt Dion was referring to Tamika or Kirk's business colleague Tony. The mystery had too many parts, and each new post added gasoline to the fire. Then, an anonymous tip reached the local news station. Someone who claimed to have surveillance footage from the Frost residence came forward. The film, which had not previously been made public, apparently depicted a disagreement between Kirk and someone inside his kitchen the night before his death. The informant described Kirk shouting, "You've been putting stuff in my food?" And the other person responding, "You constantly fear someone is trying to get you. Maybe you are simply paranoid." The next morning, Kirk was discovered unconscious in bed. If the film was genuine, it may throw the entire case wide open. Meanwhile, Kirk's condition remained poor. Doctors verified that while he was stable, the damage to his kidneys and liver was severe. Full recovery was not assured. Even if he recovers, he may face long-term consequences. The family was advised to prepare for difficult decisions, and Kirk's medical staff made it obvious that this was a planned poisoning, and time was of the essence in identifying the culprit. With emotions running high, trust destroyed, and secrets uncovered, the question on everyone's mind was no longer simply who did this. How deep was the betrayal? Because if Kirk's inner circle got entangled, no one was safe. Not from suspicion, not from the repercussions, and certainly not from the truth that was about to be revealed. As Kirk's condition worsened, the burden on his family reached a boiling point. Everything was falling down: leaks, rumors, allegations. The Frost family, which had been unified in front of the cameras, was now separated by the most cruel of forces. Trust. Who could they trust? And more crucially, who could Kirk trust if he ever regained enough strength to identify the culprit? Rasheeda, still hurting from the aftermath of the viral video, was searching for answers. She had spent days imprisoned in the hospital, hoping for any indication of change, but each day seemed like another blow to her emotional well-being. Fans were not giving up. Every time she appeared in public or commented on social media, comments swamped her accounts, accusing her of being complicit in Kirk's death. Not only did fans distance themselves, but so did friends and family members. Even those in Kirk's circle who had previously been friendly to her were suddenly frigid and apprehensive. They couldn't look her in the eyes without feeling suspicious. In the middle of all this, another bombshell was released. A police source, who requested anonymity, reported that Kirk's samples had undergone a second round of testing. This time, the results were much more distressing. In addition to the poison first discovered, the testing revealed residues of a chemical used in high-level assassinations, a compound commonly found in espionage cases. How could Kirk, a prominent person, eat such a rare and hazardous compound? This finding sent shockwaves across the media. Experts and media couldn't stop talking about it, wondering who would have access to such drugs and why Kirk was targeted in this manner. Was this a professional job? Someone hired to bring him down? Or was it someone in his close circle who used their position to hurt him for selfish gain? The media frenzy only made matters worse for Rasheeda. She was now suspected of both being complicit in the poisoning and covering it up. Every time she attempted to speak up, she was met with scathing rebuttals. The public's opinion had already been formed, and she felt a lot of pressure. She isolated herself from the outer world, allowing only close family members to see her during this trying period. Meanwhile, rumors spread. Some people began to wonder if Kirk's own family had been involved in a complex conspiracy to seize control of his money. Tamika, Kirk's niece, had appeared in many leaked videos, one of which depicted her in what some viewers characterized as a heated chat with Kirk only days before the event. The film was blurry, but the words were legible. Kirk, apparently agitated, was overheard stating, "Tamika, you're always there when things go wrong. What is truly going on with you?" Tamika responded with a calm but forceful voice. "Nothing is going on. Stop being paranoid," she advised. However, supporters were not convinced. They found the conversation disturbing. Soon later, an unexpected development shook things up even further. Tamika's social media profiles have gone silent. It was as though she had vanished completely. There have been no articles, stories, or updates for days. The fact that she was nowhere to be discovered fueled the increasing conspiracy beliefs. Fans thought that she was either hiding or, worst, was silenced. The timing was quite fortuitous. The media quickly picked up on this as well. The fact that Tamika had effectively gone dark sparked suspicions. Has she fled? Has she been engaged in Kirk's poisoning? If so, why was she suddenly laying low? While the public focused on Tamika, another development came to light. A former employee of Kirk's, who worked closely with him on many business projects, made an astonishing assertion. The insider, who also preferred to remain unidentified, informed reporters that Kirk had been discussing a huge betrayal for weeks prior to the poisoning. He had a feeling someone close to him was going to hurt him, the former employee said. He told me it was not about money, but about power. He was frightened of losing control of his life, profession, and all he had worked for. This comment sparked an avalanche of curiosity. Who was attempting to control Kirk's life? Was it Tamika, Rasheeda, Dia? Or is it someone else? By this point, police detectives had started piecing together a frightening timetable. Kirk's health began to deteriorate swiftly following a particularly violent disagreement with a family member only days before he became ill. The dispute, which occurred at a family gathering, was apparently about Kirk's business transactions. According to insiders close to the matter, Kirk was on the point of breaking connections with several people he formerly trusted. Kirk's gap with some family members had been increasing for months, and it appeared that he had finally reached a breaking point. He'd begun to make measures to safeguard himself financially and emotionally. As authorities began their inquiry, they shifted their attention to those who had been closest to Kirk in his dying days. Dion, Kirk's brother, was among the first suspects questioned. While he acted supportive in public, there were murmurs about his personal financial difficulties. Had Dion, like the others, been yearning for control of Kirk's empire? He was known to have been involved in some of Kirk's commercial transactions, but there were no clear documents indicating the degree of his involvement. The police proceeded to investigate his money, looking for any possible motivation. Meanwhile, the Frost family was ripped apart. Kirk's mother, who had kept a low profile throughout the ordeal, eventually broke her silence. In a rare interview, she expressed shock and bewilderment at what had happened to her son. "Kirk is a good man," she stated, her voice cracking. "I'm not sure who could do something like this to him. He cherished his family. He would never harm anyone." However, even her words could not quell the increasing suspicion. As further information emerged, supporters began to wonder, might Kirk's own mother have been duped into turning against him? Some speculated that she may be a pawn in a broader conspiracy. Then came the unexpected surprise. A phone call from an unknown number was released to the media. Kirk could hardly talk on the phone, adding, "I know who did this, but I can't say it yet," before the connection went dead. The tape sparked an immediate reaction, with fans and media outlets rushing to decipher Kirk's final remarks. Did Kirk know who was behind the poisoning? Has he already figured it out? If so, why hadn't he mentioned names? Was he defending anyone, or was he just too feeble to do so? The curiosity had reached a fever pitch. The family's stress level increased with each passing day. Suspicions were developing into accusations, and the trust that had once been the cornerstone of their relationships was disintegrating. Nobody could hide from the truth indefinitely. The mystery remained: who poisoned Kirk? And why? Who stood to benefit from his downfall? As the inquiry progressed, additional twists and turns surfaced, but one thing remained clear: everyone had something to conceal. As Kirk's condition deteriorated, the media frenzy intensified. The public couldn't get enough of the supposition, and the strain on his family grew stronger. Every action they took was analyzed, and every word they spoke was turned into something terrible. The police investigation was getting closer to the truth, but no one knew what they would discover next. With Kirk just holding on, his family was caught in the crossfire of rumors, betrayals, and a web of lies that appeared difficult to unravel. Just as the family felt they had reached rock bottom, a surprising new revelation shook them to their core. A fresh witness came forward, claiming to have seen something significant the night Kirk was poisoned. This witness, a close friend of Tamika, offered an unexpected fact. According to this individual, Tamika had been acting suspiciously in the days preceding Kirk's fall. She was always in a hurry, like she had something to hide, the witness stated. I spotted her leaving Kirk's house late at night, and she was not alone. She was with someone, a man I hadn't seen before. She was clearly anxious about something. This testimony sent shockwaves across the inquiry, creating new concerns about Tamika's role. Could she have been the one who poisoned Kirk? Or was she merely a pawn in a far larger scheme? The witness statement prompted a re-examination of Tamika's location that night. Investigators began to focus on the man Tamika had been spotted with. Who was he? Why had he been with her? What did he know about Kirk's poisoning? The more the authorities dug, the more they discovered that Tamika was hiding something. A deep dig into her social media accounts found a series of cryptic messages in the weeks preceding up to Kirk's sickness, which appeared to indicate a family feud. In one post, she said, "Sometimes it's better to keep your enemies close." Fans and investigators alike couldn't help but wonder if Tamika was attempting to tell them anything. As if things weren't confusing enough, another surprising event occurred. Dion, Kirk's brother, was thrown back into the spotlight after a series of suspicious transactions were discovered. Police learned that Dion had made multiple substantial withdrawals from Kirk's personal accounts in the weeks leading up to his fall. The timing was quite strange and instantly raised red flags. Was Dion complicit in Kirk's poisoning? Had he been embezzling money from his brother and sought a chance to eliminate him? The detectives dug further into Dion's finances, and the picture that emerged was more intricate than anybody had anticipated. However, Dion's lawyer swiftly denied all wrongdoing. Dion has been a loyal brother to Kirk for years, the lawyer said during a press briefing. There is no evidence to imply that he played any role in Kirk's terrible sickness. These rumors are false and have no foundation in reality. However, the public was not convinced. Fans and media outlets started questioning Dion's motivations. Some have accused him of attempting to use the situation in his benefit, using his brother's problem to seize control of Kirk's money and power. As the probe drew closer to Kirk's inner circle, Rasheeda faced her most difficult challenge yet. She had already been blamed for Kirk's condition, and the weight of the allegations was starting to get to her. The media's infatuation with her role grew, and every time she walked outdoors, cameras were ready to capture her every action. She was depicted as the antagonist in a convoluted story, suspected of poisoning her husband and participating in a bigger scheme to seize control of his life. It felt as if the world had turned against her. Her family, friends, and even her own followers began to suspect her. Rasheeda's emotions were running high amidst the turmoil. She felt angry, heartbroken, and afraid all at once. She needed to put the record right and share her side of the tale. But no matter what she tried, the tidal surge of negativity that enveloped her appeared to be unstoppable. Her only option seemed to be to fight back. During an emotional appearance with a renowned television show, Rasheeda finally spoke up about the claims and the suffering she had been feeling. "I never wanted this to happen," she said, her voice shaking. "I adore Kirk with all of my heart. I would never injure him. Nobody is more saddened than me right now. But it's not only about me. It's about our family and future. We need to get together and find out the truth." Her remarks were honest and emotional, yet they lacked the effect she had hoped for. Instead, both fans and reviewers expressed skepticism. Some have accused her of milking Kirk's near-death experience to get sympathy. The media had portrayed her as guilty, and no amount of begging could change that. As Rasheeda battled to clear her reputation, Kirk's health continued to deteriorate. After weeks of stillness, physicians were eventually able to stabilize his health. He was still unable to talk or move on his own, but simply being alive was a miracle. The physicians were cautiously optimistic, but warned that Kirk's recuperation would be long and unpredictable. During this time, Kirk was questioned several times. Despite his frail condition, the detectives were anxious to get answers. They needed to know who poisoned Kirk, and they weren't going to stop until they found out. In one of the few interviews Kirk was able to give, he seemed fatigued but clear. "I know who did this," he said quietly, his voice barely audible. "But I can't say it yet." The statement sent shockwaves across the room. Kirk was aware of his attacker's identity, but why didn't he say it? Was he protecting anyone? Or was he too afraid to mention names? Fans, the media, and his family were left hanging on Kirk's every word. The drama surrounding his poisoning was far from ended, and it appeared that the facts remained just out of grasp. Theories concerning Kirk's poisoning continued to swirl. Some individuals assumed that Kirk's financial position was the motivation for the attack. Others felt it was more personal, perhaps a betrayal by someone he had trusted. As the inquiry progressed, it became evident that the issue was considerably more difficult than anybody had anticipated. The drama, the lies, and the secrets were all leading up to something tragic. But the most pressing question remained: who was behind Kirk's poisoning? When would the truth ultimately come out? As Kirk's rehabilitation progressed, the tension between the family only appeared to grow. The inquiry into Kirk Frost's poisoning was far from complete, and the shocking claims against Tamika, Kirk's sister-in-law, had thrown the entire family into chaos. But just when everyone believed they'd reached the breaking point, another stunning event occurred. Kirk, still barely alive, managed to say something that sent the entire family into a tailspin once more. Kirk said it wasn't Tamika, it was someone else. The room fell completely quiet. His statements were more than simply a confession. They represented a fundamental turn in the inquiry. Tamika had been under suspicion for weeks, suspected of poisoning her brother-in-law. Kirk's remarks shifted the case in another direction. Who did he accuse now? What did he mean by someone else? The physicians raced to his side, trying to figure out what Kirk was trying to communicate. His breath laborious, his physique fragile, and his eyes were glazed with bewilderment. Was this a moment of enlightenment? Or was Kirk just delusional from the trauma? Everyone in the room was yearning for answers, but the mystery grew with each passing second. Tamika's face turned pale as she listened in the corner of the room. Was she actually framed? Or was this a last-ditch attempt to conceal her tracks? The family was left to pick up the pieces once again. Rasheeda, who had been fighting to protect her family and keep her husband alive, was in mental agony. She had been dealing with the stress of Kirk's illness, the media frenzy, and now this latest discovery. She begged the physicians for any hope. "What does this mean?" she inquired, her voice cracking with anguish. "Who is Kirk talking about? Is this actually happening?" The physicians could only reassure Kirk that his health was still precarious, and it was difficult to determine if his remarks were true or simply the effect of his frail state. But the harm was already done. The press had learned about Kirk's new remark, and everyone was talking about it. The headline read, "Kirk's shocking confession, family left stunned," and "Who poisoned Kirk Frost?" A shocking new surprise has been revealed to fans. Meanwhile, Tamika had to defend herself once more, but this time the strain was worse than ever. In an emotional interview, she tearfully denied having any part in Kirk's poisoning, saying, "I never intended to hurt Kirk. I'm heartbroken by what has occurred, but I promise on my life that I did not poison him." Kirk's claims are justified. I don't even know how to describe them. Her emotions were genuine, and her grief evident, but her remarks did not appear to persuade everyone. The public's reaction was mixed. Some people believed Kirk, particularly after his bombshell comments, but others remained faithful to Tamika, claiming she was the victim of a misunderstanding. But what about the remaining family members? Were they starting to sense something more was going on? Rasheeda, for one, was beside herself. She had previously faced several allegations from the media and her followers over her role in Kirk's downfall. Now, with Kirk's new remarks fueling the fire, she was more determined than ever to discover the truth. "I know my family," Rasheeda said in an emotional interview with a local TV channel. "And I know Kirk. He would never blame anybody without a reason. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. As the inquiry progressed, more shocks were in store. Police began investigating Kirk's business connections, seeking for any clues as to who may have poisoned him. Kirk had always been a successful businessman, but he, like many others in the entertainment sector, had several adversaries. The more they learned, the more they realized how many individuals wanted to hurt Kirk. The family, it seems, was not the only one harboring secrets. Then came the unexpected surprise. During a normal review of Kirk's accounts, detectives discovered a number of unusual transactions. Kirk had been sending enormous quantities of money to an unknown account that was unrelated to any family members or business colleagues. The monies were transmitted in the weeks preceding up to Kirk's sickness, and the numbers were suspiciously excessive. Who was behind these transactions, and are they linked to the poisoning? The media reacted quickly to this new news. Did Kirk have a hidden lover? Who is behind these mystery payments? The headlines shouted. Some assumed that Kirk was involved in a secret romance, while others suspected he had been blackmailed. Could these unexplained payments have contributed to his poisoning? Tamika was once again in the limelight, although having no direct link to the money. She denied any connection, but the public was beginning to wonder if she had been hiding anything. Was it feasible that Tamika was shielding someone else? Had she known about the payments but kept it a secret for personal reasons? The more questions surfaced, the more the family fell apart. Meanwhile, Rasheeda was in complete astonishment. She'd worked so hard to keep the family together, but now it seemed like everything was disintegrating. Kirk was still struggling for his life, and the media scrutinized every aspect of their lives. She found herself on the defense, continually questioned about the newest events. "I'm just trying to be there for Kirk," she told reporters in a sad statement. "I don't know all of the solutions, but I won't give up on him." As the inquiry progressed, the family started to dissolve. Each fresh piece of evidence seemed to point to a greater conspiracy, one no one had ever anticipated. Kirk's poisoning became more than simply one person's treachery. It was an epic family drama involving money, secrets, and lies. And as Kirk fought for his life, no one knew who to trust. Finally, it became evident that the reality was everything but straightforward. The poisoner had not yet been identified, but the effects of Kirk's poisoning were felt by everyone around him. The family was torn apart, and the harm to their relationships was immense. Trust was broken, and no one knew who to turn to next. Kirk's fight for survival was still ongoing, but the conflict among the family had only just begun. Who would come out on top in this bizarre story? Only time will tell. So you've witnessed the startling twists, traumatic breakdowns, and terrible allegations surrounding Kirk Frost's unexplained poisoning. From Tamika's passionate denials to Kirk's weak but haunting comments that shocked the entire family, this narrative has taken unexpected turns. And the truth? It stays buried behind layers of treachery, uncertainty, and heartache. But what do you believe actually happened? Was Kirk's moment of enlightenment a true breakthrough? Or is it simply an illusion brought on by his delicate state? Do you think Tamika is innocent, or might she be hiding something darker? What about those weird money transfers? Do they indicate a covert scheme, or is someone else tugging the strings from the shadows? We want to hear from you. Drop your ideas in the comments section right now and tell us what you think is the true truth behind this convoluted narrative. Who do you believe wanted Kirk gone, and why? Your ideas are important, and you could notice a detail that everyone else overlooked. If you were surprised by the turns in this tale, press the like button. It helps us bring you even more incredible stories like this one. Don't forget to subscribe and enable alerts, since this tale isn't done yet. More mysteries are soon to be revealed, and you will not want to miss a single update. We are following every lead, interview, and hint until the complete truth is revealed. So stay tuned, intrigued, and watching, because in the world of celebrity, family, and treachery, nothing is ever as it appears.